Welcome back to episode 13 of Just Add Movement. I'm Erin Anderson, and I am so excited to be joined today by Brian Relph, Certified Interfaith Spiritual Director, Soul Growth Coach, Enneagram Teacher, and practitioner of Qigong, Tarot, Dreamwork, and Soul Path. Based in Asheville, North Carolina, Brian works with people who feel stuck, who have lost their sense of direction, or who are ready to stop navigating life alone and begin their inner journey toward their truest self. He says, every answer you need is already inside you, and his job is simply to help you find it. Brian, welcome.
Thank you so much, Erin. It's good to be with you.
Now, I don't normally tell people how I know people and how they come to be my guest, but I do feel like I want to name that we have known each other since we were 12 years old.
That is right. I'm glad you brought that up.
And so there's a sweetness because as I looked up, I just had this flash of us as seventh graders.
Right? Wow.
And I think what feels special to have you as a guest is your journey has been so rich, and the thresholds you have stepped through have been so clear. So I was really excited to be able to reconnect with you and to learn about where your path has gone. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and my heart already feels really full.
Same is really thrilling to hear after all these years and reconnecting that we've had very parallel paths in some way. So looking forward to this conversation.
Well, let's dive in. The first question, Brian, what do you know to be true about the body based on your body of work?
It's a great question, and it really brings to the forefront our awareness of how important embodiment is, right? The body is, it's not only the vehicle that moves us through the world, but it is, it's a communication tool, I would say, between ourselves and our deeper selves. And so my interest is in what I would call the energy body. So this is certainly related to physical sensation, but it's what I would call a subtle layer of the embodiment experience that is really where all the juicy stuff happens when we talk about a frog in the throat or having a broken heart or that sensation in the gut. That's really the energy body that we're talking about. And so the way that I experience all this is that it is through the energy body and through these kinds of sensations that the body speaks to us. It helps us become aware of our emotions. It helps us become aware of what feels true in a particular moment. I'm one who has taken years to become reacquainted with my emotional self. I think a lot of emotions got suppressed when I was young, right? And so sometimes it takes me a while to figure out how I feel about something. But always it's the body that tells me that there's something I need to pay attention to. Because even if I'm not cognitively aware of an emotion, the body will speak. It will get my attention quite strongly. And even from there, I'll have to sit with it for a while. So I'm sure you're familiar with the technique called focusing, for example. Techniques like this can help us get in touch with the wisdom of the body. And so working with the energy body, I think has a lot of benefits. And my work as a Qigong teacher has helped me to experience this and to teach other people how to go about it as well. Engaging in a practice like Qigong or any other embodiment practice, other things are equally effective, like yoga, um, can help us stay more attuned to the more subtle experiences that are going on energetically within. And so it's been such a blessing to me. And I think it's kind of been a guide for me on my path, on the multi-decade journey of kind of coming home to myself and developing a more rich relationship with spirit. It's all happened through my embodied awareness. That's kind of been the guide through that process.
Well, and if I can jump in on that specifically, I'd love for you to go deeper into this question I loosely hold, doing work with soul, spirit, however one might frame that with words.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to have you, which I imagine you already were doing, go deeper into describing what it's like in your own experience or witnessing with those you work with, how the body is, I mean, how do you think of the body in relationship with spirit, soul? I'm curious if you think it's a vessel, the carrier, the bridge. Like, how do you describe something that's so indescribable and how the body shows up in that?
Great question. I see the body as a communication device. Device is kind of a strange word, but it's a medium for communication with spirit. And that kind of happens. That's why I bring up the energy body, because it happens through the energy body and maybe becomes a physical sensation in this 3D body as well. But how do I conceptualize it? I'm often inviting clients to tune into the body. I mean, I sit with folks on Zoom in these little rectangles, and so it's tempting to get all up in the head, right? And to go about all this from an intellectual perspective, but it's really not until we get into the body that we can really feel what's in there. I mean, that's where the trauma is stored, right? That's where the deeper awareness happens. And so oftentimes it's inviting folks to tune into the heart space, right? I will say in my own experience, do you ever get those tingly feelings? Like my child was telling me they get them in their feet sometimes. I get them in the forehead and in the crown of my head during meditation or during Qigong or perhaps in a transcendent moment of some kind. I'm sure we've all had different versions of that kind of experience. And again, it feels like an exclamation point or a highlight of that moment, that there's something, I would say, somewhat transcendent happening at that time. And it can be a real indication of an opening, I think, to something beyond this physical space.
Well, I love how you describe that, the exclamation point, the highlighted moment as experienced through the body. It's such a beautiful, all of that, a beautiful description weaving together really subtle, complex, profound experiences. So, taking that into your lived experience and knowing that this conversation is about threshold moments as a portal from knowing to becoming, I'm curious if you'd be willing to share maybe these exclamation points that you're currently experiencing as you're transitioning from something personally, professionally, however you would like to share.
Sure. Gosh, there's probably so much we could say about that. But I would say the biggest threshold, the big picture threshold that I'm working through at this point in life is something that you and I discussed a couple of weeks ago, this coming off the roof experience. So, which is a very nerdy human design term. So I don't know if all of your listeners would be familiar with what that means. But I can kind of sum it up. So there are different profiles in a human design type, and it's going to have two numbers. You could explain better how all that works than I could. But you're going to have it's going to be a 5-1 or a 3-1. In my case, it's a 4-6. And so if there's a 6 in there, there's 4-6. There's also 6-2 and 6-3. I know you come up as a 6-2. So the 6 line in that profile, it's the archetype of the role model is kind of the way we think about it. And folks with a 6 line profile live a 3-part life. And so the first part is about kind of experimenting, trying things out, bumping into situations and people that may or may not be correct for us. And it's usually pretty messy and painful. The second chapter, being from age 30 to 50, is about being on the roof where we're kind of licking our wounds and reintegrating some of those experiences, developing wisdom from all of that lived experience. And then the theory is at the age of 50, we have this coming off the roof experience where we're coming out into the world and in some way getting a chance to share any wisdom that we might have developed in that process. And when I learned about that part of my chart when I was about 43, which was helpful because I felt like the me that I knew somehow deep down knew that I was wanting to become, it wasn't my time yet. So it helped me feel more at ease with the timing that I was on because I felt like I was behind. I'm looking around and seeing a lot of people doing a lot of things and being very successful. Turns out the 6 line folks are sort of the natural late bloomers. So I turned 50 earlier this year. I know you and I are in a similar stage that way. And so it's really been interesting to watch what's been happening where doors in life have begun to open that I could not open of my own free will, of my own personal will, right? Opportunities to teach, to do work in the world that I couldn't have really even dreamed of before have started to show up. But I've been in a hermit mode for probably 6-7 years now, at least, going through a divorce, going through a major adrenal crash. I broke my leg. Like it was all kinds of messy, right? And so I really needed to kind of go in the hermit cave for a while, but it feels like that time has ended, and the threshold now is to step out into the world, right? Is to let the world know that I'm here. And they can decide what they want to do about that. But I thought I would share with you this dream image that I had last night. It's very somatically related. So I had a dream last night where there was a man who he was disabled, this man, and his disability was that his arms and his hands were like stuck behind his body as if he had been put in handcuffs, but there were no handcuffs. He was just stuck in that position. And if we think about the hands, of course, they're involved in creativity and so much of what we do. But they're also the way that we reach out to others, right? And so this person in the dream, that's me, because it's my dream, right? In what ways have I had my hands behind my back and been felt restricted or limited around reaching out to others? In more common modern parlance, we might call that networking or connecting socially. But I believe the dream is showing me that this is where you've been, and perhaps this isn't necessary anymore. Perhaps it's time to reach out. So that comes, of course, with no small amount of challenge or trepidation. I have plenty of my own sort of baked in complexes around rejection and feeling safe out there in the world. So it seems like each of the thresholds that I've crossed in the last 15, 20 years, there's always some stuff that comes up around it, right? There are reasons why we haven't crossed that threshold before, because it brings up all of our stuff. And it's so common when it starts to hurt that badly or feel that scary that we say, okay, no, we'll just close that door. No, thank you. But I think as we kind of take just small steps in the direction that I would say the direction that soul wants to go, like if we're tuning into the subtle language of soul, which we can do through somatic awareness, for example, we are being guided. And usually we're being guided in directions that are really uncomfortable, right? To walk in, to take steps in. And so it's not that we need to live in discomfort 24/7. That's no good for the nervous system. But I have learned, I would say, the value of challenging myself spiritually in these directions. So, for example, earlier this year, I launched a couple of year-long apprenticeships, one in the tarot and one in this modality I use called Soul Path. And I tell you, putting that out there brought up every complex that I have. Like I said, complexes around rejection, expectation of failure. You could ask my partner. I was not easy to live with for the month or two that was going on, because I was kind of beside myself. It was pretty scary. I was convinced that none of it was going to work, and then it was all going to fall flat on my face. Of course, it did work. It came around, right? But it was actually after doing a breathing practice with my therapist that things started opening up. I believe it's called Tonglen. Have you heard of this practice, Buddhist practice?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did some of that style of breathing around the themes that I was feeling challenged with that week. And it was right after that that everything shifted, where the marketing opportunities open up to let people know about this. And here it was 2 weeks before the class is going to start, and I've got one person signed up, but all of a sudden people are showing up. I'm offering free webinars, and it came together. Kind of a nail biter, right? But as an INFP and Myers-Briggs types, us P folks tend to do everything at the last minute, and so that's definitely how I operate. So for me, the threshold really at this point is putting myself out in the world, which I think for some types feels maybe more natural, but for me, it's definitely been involved no amount of hand wringing or moving through discomfort and kind of doing it anyway, right? Because I felt guided. I felt like that was the direction that things needed to go.
You felt like it was the direction it needed to go. Is that spirit? Is that intuition? Is that body? Is that all of it coming together?
Yeah, I would say it's all of that coming together. The most effective tool that I use, that I have for attuning to that kind of guidance, is tarot. I have countless tarot decks spread around my house, and I'll check in a few times a day, and then maybe once a week I'll have a sit down where we're really kind of pulling out, okay, what direction is being called for here. But often it also will come in dreams, like I mentioned this dream image that I shared with you. There's tremendous wisdom in our dreams, and the beauty of it is that dreams are kind of titrated in a way that our system can handle. That the unconscious is only going to give you just enough to kind of move you along on your path. It's not going to overwhelm you usually, unless you're not getting the message, and then it comes in with a whole lot of force. But what we understand about nightmares through, I don't know if you know Jeremy Taylor and his work.
I don't know.
Yeah, tremendous dream worker. He's no longer with us, but his book, The Wisdom of Your Dreams, just changed my life. what we understand about nightmares is they're really no different than regular dreams. They've just got the volume turned all the way up because something in our unconscious is really trying to get our attention. So,
Mm.
it's, I like to come at it from a variety of angles to kind of double check my work, if you will.
I love that. This whole share about your thresholds again a beautiful weaving. That's the word that keeps coming to me listening to you, where you shared across timelines, chapters, thresholds throughout your life. That really has led you to now this current threshold and the ways that you are navigating it and supporting yourself through it to keep going, to keep showing up, stretching yourself, and realigning with what's most important to you. So I'd love to transition us into the third part of our conversation, which is less about the talking and more about how do we get to become present, check in with this moment, and play with something specific, or just see what 2 to 3 minutes of presence can bring us. I'm curious if there's something coming to you that you'd like to share with us, or if you'd like to just describe how you're going to drop into the moment for yourself and get support and guidance in this moment.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk you through a brief practice as we sit here. Um, Qigong is often done standing, but we can also do it sitting. So much of Qigong can be done sitting. So it's an appropriate modification for many circumstances. So I can talk us through a bit of a body orientation and a little bit of movement.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then once you're complete with that invitation to us, I invite you to drop into that yourself, and then I'll invite you out of that.
Cool. Thank you. So in Qigong, we refer to three energy centers. There's the hara, which is in the low belly, the heart, and the head. And so the practice I'm going to walk you through involves expanding and contracting in each of those energy centers, which is a way of kind of flexing them, getting some energy movement in those spaces. And so this certainly happens through the intention. It happens mentally, but it can also be aided through physical movement. So the physical movement is to start with your palms down in front of the energy center you want to open. So I'll demonstrate here in front of the heart, and then to open the palms up and spread the hands outward while we inhale. And then as we exhale, we bring the palms back together facing down. And so in the head, it would look like this. So 3 centers breathing is what that's called. So let's do a little bit of that. We can begin by feeling the spine straightening as we imagine a line extending up from the crown into the heavens, into the stars, as if we are suspended here from this line. Can perhaps begin to feel an energetic opening within. And we can breathe into that experience for a moment. Now we can bring our awareness to the low belly, the hara. Bring our hands in front of the hara. We can inhale while we expand the hands outward. And exhale, bringing the hands back together. As we inhale again, visualizing an expansion in the energy body space. And exhaling. Inhale, opening in the low belly. Exhale, closing. One more here. Inhale. As the hands come back together, we can lift them up to near the heart space. And again, inhale, expanding with the palms face up. Contracting, palms face down. Bring our awareness to the heart space as we inhale. Feeling that expansion and then contraction. We'll do one more here. Inhale, opening the heart space. And exhale, closing. As we come back together, we can float the hands up in front of the forehead. And again, inhale, expanding. Exhale, contracting. Presencing awareness in the center of the head. Noticing any sensation that you find here. Okay, last one. As we come back together, can allow the hands to float back down. And now we can sit in presence awareness in the body, noticing this experience has stirred anything.
Take another minute to be with what is and to receive anything else that is being offered to you in this present moment of being you. And from this place, slowly, slowly, finding the inspiration to become verbal or to create sound or movement in response to this question, Brian. What do you know to be true right now in this moment?
Offer a couple of things. The first thing that comes forward is how loved we are. Sometimes in Qigong, we refer to moving through the ocean of energy, this quantum field. And so that's a nice theoretical understanding. But when I actually practice Qigong, it feels like an ocean of love that is in and around us and that we're swimming in all the time. The other thing I would say is that the direction as we move toward maybe deeper relationship with ourselves, deeper relationship with spirit, it's about subtlety. Spirit communicates in very subtle ways. And when we're able to attune to or become better at listening to that subtlety, we don't need to get hit over the head with a 2x4 as spirit will also do. Right. But the energy body is one of the ways that we can tune into that subtlety. And so as we turn down the external noise out there in the world, all of the media, all of the agitation, which is certainly understandable, but there's a level of subtlety that we can experience as we get quiet with ourselves, as we quiet the thinking mind, as we spend more time tuning in. And this is where the real sweetness is, in my experience. This is where the wisdom gets a chance to come through, hopefully.
Well, and may you continue to receive it. I want to thank you for sharing so fully, so honestly with us. I want to thank you for jamming out, as I call it. And as we just added movement, I'd like to invite us all to take a collective breath. At some moment in every episode, I invite that collective breath. And from this place, Brian, is there anything else you'd like to express to feel complete for this time together?
It's tremendous gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. So until next time, everyone, just add movement. So much love and movement.